Hi, welcome to week 9 of Clare's Club, and today is actually Easter, the resurrection, the day of the Great Rising. So welcome to today, and thank you for being here. I actually was asked a really poignant question this week about how do we get out of a rut, and I know that we can all relate to that in different ways in our lives. So for today, I'm actually going to play a song first that speaks to the experience of being in a rut. And then I'm going to talk about some of the thoughts I had when I pondered the question about how do we get out of a rut. Okay? So the song is called Here We Are. Here we are. Stuck again. That's the first line. So I'll see you in a minute. Here we are, stuck again, lost in sorrow and lost in pain. We come full circle every time the big wheel turns and we're on the right, on the right. At times it's fun, and at times it's bad. But here we've hit the worst, the sad. I hate this feeling of emptiness, of missed connection with no address, no address. No address. Oh, look at you, but you don't see me. I call your name, but you've gone away. You don't know where, you never do. Look at me and see reflections of you. Of you. Oh. So, of course, we can get stuck in a rut in anything, can't we? Whether it's a relationship, or a job, or a frame of mind. Well, actually, it all boils down to a frame of mind, doesn't it? But then the question is, how do we extricate ourselves? What do we use as a trampoline to kind of bounce higher, rise above that cloud level so you can see the sun again, like in an airplane, which I love doing. So when I was thinking about this yesterday, I think it was, I was in a restaurant, so I actually wrote on a napkin the ideas that sort of popped into my mind thinking about it. And there are 4 things, there were 4 elements. So the first one is self-acceptance. Some of this sort of surprised me, but the first one was self-acceptance. The next one was self-identity. Self-identity. The next one was faith in self. Faith in self. And then the last one was letting go. And I'm familiar with the experience of hearing these words from other people in my life and thinking, well, that sounds so vague. What does that mean? How is that actual? How does that show up in real specific terms in my life? So, I'm going to tell you. I'll put my guitar down so that I can focus. So for me, when I'm in a rut, it usually means that there's something in me that I'm avoiding knowing, or that I know and I'm avoiding accepting. And so instead of entering into that space, that I might have a fear of what I'll feel or what I'll find, or thoughts that I'll discover that perhaps don't shed great light on me, like flattering light. That's the ego, of course, that has that worry. Then staying in a rut is kind of like an alternative, because then you can just kind of repeat, and however miserable that rut might make us, at least we know what to expect. And so there's a continuity there that we can find comforting. And our aspiration to rise out of that really only comes when we hit the doldrums, when we really hit that sense of this. The reward for the comfort of the repetition becomes less enchanting than the idea of something brighter. So it's kind of like we have to hit that place, and we'll hit it again and again too, because it's part of that carousel. But once we hit that place, that's when we get that opportunity to rise. So, of course, this is the big resurrection day. Now, the next one was self-identity. Now, what I understand by that is that if I don't know who I am, if I don't discover who I am, then there's really no trampoline for getting out of the rut. So there's something about exploring our identity through action. So not just up in our heads in the sort of the virtual realms of the abstract, but actually trying things on, trying things out. And you might live in a culture where there's a sense of unacceptance or inacceptance around experimenting, around being creative with your life. But I mean, it's your life, you must be creative with it, you must try things. And if you find that you're getting attention that's not supportive of that exploration, then I really recommend you change your friends and change your family environment. Do what you can to support yourself in becoming free, because your freedom is really where it's linked to your identity 100%. So if you're not free, if you don't create freedom for yourself, you're also not creating your identity. And that means you're borrowing other people's idea of who you're meant to be. And that's never going to satisfy you. It certainly didn't satisfy me. So the lengths you have to go to create that environment where you now have a space that you can explore in, do it. Just do it, because you've got your life. You've just got this one life. So you must support yourself in finding out who you are. Because who you are is actually the gift that you give to other people. Really, literally, who you are is the gift. It manifests as a gift that you then give to other people. So it's like we pass this baton of freedom back to those behind us who are also searching and seeking answers to questions to do with your own identity and liberation. Faith in self, number 3. Faith in self. The reason that one shows up is because we have to take a leap of faith. All that means, it's not religious, although it can be. All it means is that we have to take a risk that we might be right. And I can tell you, we are quite often right, in terms of, like, there's no one better qualified to know who we are than us, ourselves, each of us, for ourselves. And good friends, people who have already done this, they can reflect back to you the things that resonate for them about you in your light versus you in the borrowed shadows of other people's ideas of who you're meant to be. There's only one version of you, by the way, and it might have a lot of colours to it, a lot of complexity to it, but there's only one version of you. So you must get inside that version of you and discover it, and therefore share it. That's the creative part. This is the creative community. So you have to have faith that your instincts are right, and you have to be okay with making mistakes too. So a lot of have-tos in this one. But if you're willing to make mistakes, and if you're willing to accept the fact that really what's the worst that can happen? I mean, at some point you'll die, right? So we already know that. But up to that point, again, I think this comes back to cultural issues, you know, and feeling afraid to shine. Because some people don't like it when you shine, but there's often people that don't know how to shine yet. So in a flip side, it's to their benefit, even though they might seem to be holding you back, for you to shine. Because that will then give them greater force within themselves to want to do the same. And if they don't, that's not your job. Just FYI, not your job. So the letting go. Letting go means, in this context, letting go means that we no longer care what it's meant to look like, our life, like what we're meant to look like, what we're meant to be generating. It means that we give ourselves over, and for some this is the Christing, or handing ourselves over to God, or to Spirit, or to the rivers, the mountains and streams, whatever it might be for you. But it means we trust something bigger than us. So the previous one is trusting in ourselves, but then we have to, once we trust in ourselves, we'll know that we can survive, because we'll have that capacity to rely on ourselves. We know that we're there for ourselves. But then when we let go of everything, it means that we stop identifying with our idea of what our future is meant to look like, or someone else's future for that matter. And we release the tension and the control around the fear. Because the fear is the thing that keeps us in a rut, isn't it? And we don't need to be there, especially at this time. Like, we're in 2013, we've just had 2012, where the big change happened. That's all the astrology, not my area of expertise, but I'm aware of it. So now we're letting go, and in the letting go, we get to be surprised, and that's a really nice feeling. And we also kind of start to float a little bit, on the clouds, like we get to be supported by something of substance, something soft but substantial, that knows who we are already, and that is simply helping hold space while we enter the dialogue with ourselves and with life about that. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to share with you. I was hoping I would remember it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to. I might have to wait till next week. But in the meantime, you are special, just as you are. And if you take the time to be brave. Oh, and that's a referral back to week 6, by the way. I believe that's when I sang the song, Here We Are. So same title as this song, ironically, but it's actually about resting in community and how we have shared visions and individual visions, and that we can support each other. So I think that's what I wanted to remember, so I'm glad I did. I am going to sign off now, but I'm really glad that I got asked that question, and I feel like it's very timely for this particular day that I'm recording, which is Easter Sunday, March 31st. And I'm in Thousand Oaks near Los Angeles, still on my trip, returning back up to the San Francisco Bay Area next week. So lots of fun, exciting things happening here. Lots of anxiety and nervousness because a lot of it's new and I'm out of my comfort zone. But I understand that if I wasn't doing that, if I wasn't stepping out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't be, even right now, talking to you. So all of this is new. Every step is a new step, and if it's not, then we're just repeating. And repeating is the rut. So choose something new. Choose something that makes you feel a little bit anxious up here, and perhaps gets butterflies in your stomach, because that's a good sign. And experiment, and be your best friend. Be your strongest supporter, your strongest cheerleader. And when other voices come in, they're not yours. They might be your father's or your mother's, your sister's, brother, community. All of that can be released. It can, but really by the faith issue, which is taking a personal risk. But we do that every day anyway. So really it's just making sure that we choose some different risks, ones that we don't necessarily know what will happen next, but that we have a feeling about, and trust that feeling. So thank you again. Lots of love. Have a beautiful week. Discover yourself. Share yourself with others and inspire them just through that, just through your own courageous moments, one foot in front of the next. Okay, bye for now.